What's a weird history fact that we don't often hear about?
Story 1. When the future Edward VII balked at his mistress's accounts saying, "Madam, I have spent enough on you to build a battleship," she replied, "And you have spent enough in me to float one."
Story 2. In July 1184, Henry VI, King of Germany, later Holy Roman Emperor, held court at a Hoftag in the Petersburg Citadel in Erfurt. On the morning of July 26, the combined weight of the assembled nobles caused the wooden second-story floor of the Peterskirch to collapse, and most of them fell through into the latrine cesspit below the ground floor, where about 60 of them drowned in liquid.
Story 3. Hawaiian kings commonly had harems of both male and female lovers. The first European to make a Hawaiian to English dictionary didn't want to scandalize his Victorian readers, so translated the term for the male lovers to something like close friend. This caused some degree of confusion when missionaries arrived asking to become the close friends of the Hawaiian nobility.
Story 4. Sometime during Louis XVI's reign in France, after he married Marie Antoinette, they were having consummation issues. They say he just didn't like Marie, though none of this matters when compared to what happened when the international politics were getting a bit weird, because Louis didn't have an heir, a male son, yet, which is not good. So, Holy Roman Emperor Joseph II goes over to Louis and Marie's bedroom one night and gives the two a nice talk. Like the talk. Hear how to do the do, Louis, please make a son with my sister. It's all pretty hush-hush at the time, cause you know the sovereign of the Holy Roman Empire snuck into France to help his brother-in-law and his sister to make baby. But I'm pretty sure later, before Joseph dies, he writes about it pretty funny when my prof brought it up in class one day.
Story 5. Joseph Smith Jr., the Mormon prophet and founder of the religion, just prior to his pass, lived in a mansion, had a secret harem of 34 wives, several of them under the age of 18, declared himself king of the world, commanded a secret group of mercenaries, one of which hurt the governor of Illinois 6 times, wore a full military-style uniform all day every day with a sword on his hip, and wanted to be referred to at all times as general. He was thrown in jail for setting fire to a printing press shop that published a newspaper revealing his secrets. While in jail, a mob rushed in and hurt him several times as he leapt from a third-story window to his end while calling out a Masonic code phrase. He was also a 33-degree Freemason.
Story 6. At the beginning of World War II, in Great Britain, over 750,000 domestic animals were euthanized out of fear that rations would be spread too thin and pet abandonment would lead to masses of strays. The National Air Raid Precautions Animal Committee sent pamphlets out to homes suggesting that people should send their pets to the countryside or, kindly, have them destroyed.
My late grandma had a pet pig that she loved when she was a kid. In her old age, she would repeat the same 3 to 4 stories about him. Needless to say, Piggy didn't survive the war. One day when times were tough, my great-grandade took Sir Oink-a-Lot out back, and the rest is history. I don't think my nan ever really forgave her dad for that.
Story 7. Buddhist monk from Bhutan Drukpa Kunli was known for his crazy methods of enlightening other beings, mostly women, which earned him the title the Saint of 5,000 Women. Among other things, women would seek his blessing in the form of act. His intention was to show that it is possible to be enlightened, impart enlightenment, and still lead a very healthy act life, and to demonstrate that celibacy was not necessary for being enlightened. Because of this power to awaken unenlightened beings, Kunli's organ is referred to as the thunderbolt of flaming wisdom, and he himself is known as the fertility saint. For this reason, women from all around the world visited his monastery to seek his blessing. He is one of very few Buddhist teachers to almost always appear in Bhutanese paintings naked. It is known that Drukpa Kunli would not bless anyone who came to seek his guidance and help unless they brought a beautiful woman and a bottle of wine.
Story 8. During Italian unification, the Prime Minister of Sardinia-Piedmont, Camillo Benso, Count of Cavour, was attempting to curry French support for Italian unification under Sardinia's monarchy. During a state visit between Benso, Victor Emmanuel II, and Napoleon III, Benso introduced Napoleon to his cousin, Virginia Oldoini, in hopes that she would catch his attention. She did just that, and the two had an affair that lasted over a year. In truth, the Count of Cavour set up his cousin to engage in an affair with the French emperor, in hopes that she can convince him to support Italian unification through the affair. It worked. She used her relationship with Napoleon III as a contributing factor in his ultimate decision to sign an alliance with Sardinia-Piedmont. In exchange for giving up Savoy and Nice, a promise to protect the Pope's position in Rome, in a raunchy affair with the Count of Cavour's cousin, France helped Italy become unified.
Story 9. History is way gayer than you thought. Peter II of Russia couldn't get it up unless Catherine the Great wore a soldier's uniform. Dude had a weird obsession with soldiers. Catherine the Great had handmaidens to test drive potential suitors, to make certain they were up to the task of pleasing her. Ptolemaic dynasty of Egypt practiced rampant incest for just under 300 years, which is why Cleopatra was Greek and not Egyptian. James I built Buckingham Palace for his gay lover, the Duke of Buckingham. The Austro-Hungarian army in World War I lost hundreds of thousands of men due to the gay love affairs of their previous head of the Evidence Bureau, Alfred Reddel. Alcibiades was banished from Athens during the Peloponnesian War for allegedly knocking the statues of Hermes in the city. In 1923, Warren G. Harding died of a stroke caused by overly vigorous act in a hotel in San Francisco while president in, also the most corrupt admin before Trump.
Story 10. Did you know that during the 17th century, a man named William Buckland discovered a cave in England with a peculiar collection of bones? Upon further examination, Buckland realized that these were the remains of an extinct species, which he named Megalosaurus, the first dinosaur to ever be identified by science. But that's not the only weird part of the story. Buckland, who was also a devout Christian, believed that God had created the earth in 6 literal days, as described in the Bible. However, the discovery of Megalosaurus and other dinosaur fossils presented a challenge to this belief, as they suggested that these creatures had existed long before humans. In an attempt to reconcile these seemingly contradictory ideas, Buckland proposed a theory that dinosaurs had been created by God, just like all other living creatures, but that they had gone extinct before the creation of humans. He argued that the Bible did not mention dinosaurs because they had simply ceased to exist by the time humans arrived on the scene. This theory, known as the gap theory, became popular among some Christian circles in the 19th and 20th centuries as a way to reconcile scientific discoveries with religious beliefs. While it is no longer widely accepted by mainstream Christian theologians, it remains a fascinating example of how humans have tried to make sense of the world around them throughout history.
Story 11. During the Bronze Age, around 2000 BCE, the Minoans of ancient Crete had a writing system known as Linear A, which has yet to be deciphered. Linear A was discovered by the British archaeologist Arthur Evans in the early 1900s, along with another script known as Linear B. Unlike Linear B, which was eventually deciphered and found to be an early form of Greek, Linear A remains a mystery to this day. The Minoans were a highly advanced civilization that thrived on the island of Crete, and Linear A was likely used to keep records of their economic and administrative affairs. Despite extensive efforts by scholars and linguists over the years, the script remains indecipherable due to the lack of a bilingual text or a known descendant language. Some theories suggest that Linear A may have represented a non-Indo-European language, while others propose that it may have been an early form of Indo-Cretan, a language spoken in Crete before the arrival of the Greeks. Whatever the case may be, the mystery of Linear A remains one of the most intriguing and enigmatic puzzles in the history of writing.
Story 12. During the 17th and 18th centuries, wealthy European families would hire people to dress up in extravagant costumes and act as living furniture. These individuals, known as human furniture or tableaux vivants, would pose as chairs, tables, or other household objects, and remain perfectly still for hours at a time. One famous example of human furniture comes from the French court of King Louis XIV, who employed a group of courtiers known as les grandes dames to act as living statues during royal banquets and events. These women were trained to remain completely motionless for hours on end, even as they were adorned with lavish costumes and decorations. The tradition of human furniture eventually spread to other parts of Europe, and it was not uncommon for wealthy families to have their own personal tableaux vivants for special occasions. While the practice may seem bizarre to us today, it was seen as a symbol of wealth and luxury during its time.
Story 13. During the Tang Dynasty in ancient China, there was a special group of soldiers called the Iron Pagoda Armies who were trained in a unique fighting style. These soldiers were called Iron Pagoda Armies because they were trained in a technique that involved scaling pagodas and other tall structures and fighting while balanced on the narrow edges of the roofs. They were able to move quickly and gracefully while also defending themselves and attacking their opponents. This technique was not only impressive to watch but also very effective in battle. The Iron Pagoda armies were known for their bravery and skill, and they played an important role in many of the Tang dynasty's military campaigns.